So I'd like to get right to the program. Tonight we do have, as Melissa said, a special guest linked in. She is going to give us our keynote. She is remote, and we have all our technology set up, but I may need someone in the room to make sure it goes well while I'm reading all this. So if I could get her on the monitor while I introduce her, that would be great. There we go. Ladies. Hello, ladies.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. Sabina? Hi. Okay, so audience, if you'll look at the bottom part of the screen when it comes up, I'd like for you to meet another member of our founding members, Sabina. And Sabina couldn't be here tonight because she is snowed in Minneapolis. So enjoy this beautiful Georgia weather, and thank you, Sabina, for being with us remote and live. In this day and age, there's no reason we can't connect this way, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
And this is our first time, so
I think we're doing great. So in your upper screen on your right, this is our LinkedIn keynote speaker. Her name is Priyanka Gariba.
Hi, everyone.
She is joining us virtually from LinkedIn headquarters in Mountain View, California. She heads the technical program management for the artificial intelligence organization at LinkedIn. Her team leads some of the most complex, critical, and cross-functional programs within the company. For example, building a machine learning platform to scale model development lifecycle at LinkedIn, crowdsourcing, content quality, standardization, and more. She is an experienced professional with a number of years of industry experience in data and software engineering. She is extremely passionate about women in technology and the craft of technical program management, and she is always actively contributing to the community by keeping herself engaged in mentoring, volunteering, and speaking engagements within and outside of LinkedIn, as in tonight. Some of her participating membership programs are Tech Women, West Program, and other platforms focused on empowering and providing equal opportunities for women in tech. According to her, mentorship is a life-changing experience. Ladies, listen up. And we encourage everyone to do so. She adds, the most remarkable part of all of these programs are the relationships that you build. They are real and they are for a lifetime. Please welcome Priyanka.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. First of all, I would love to say that I'm not alone in the room, but I have to strategically put the camera such that you guys can see me. We are a technology-first company, so I want to show you that I do have people who are supporting me. Guys, say hi. All right. So I definitely want to start off by saying thank you so much to the Women in Wireless group for having me, and also a big round of thank you to Liz, Melissa, and Sabina, who really helped me prep up the talk and enabled me to do the virtual talk because I was not able to fly there in person. So thank you so much. And also everything that you're doing and the mission of wireless, Women in Wireless is amazing. So kudos to you. If you guys need anything in the future from me or any of my connections, I'm happy to help in that area. With that, let me start off with 2 questions for the audience. Let's do a quick show of hands for all those of you who think that you might have used less than 50% of the products throughout the day, starting morning, that are powered by AI. Less than 50%. Okay, just a couple of hands. And who thinks you've used more than 50% of your products that you use since morning till now that were powered by AI? I think there are more hands. I also see some hands in the room, which is great. So I'm gonna remember these stats, and I'm gonna come back to it at some point in my talk. The second question I want to ask is, how many of us here, virtually or in the room, have a PhD degree? Okay, so I saw only 3 to 4 hands, which is totally okay. You saw my hand did not go up as well. And I do want to circle back on this point at some point in the talk. With that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Priyanka Gariba, and I head technical program management for artificial intelligence teams at LinkedIn. I'm not going to dive into the details because I think Liz covered most of all the work that myself and my team does. So I really want to get started with my talk. And my talk is going to be covering 3 different sections. The first section really talks about what is artificial intelligence, what is the buzz around it, why it's important, and give you a little bit of flavor of what we do at LinkedIn with respect to AI. So starting with the first thing, I think I can talk about a definition that's up on the Wikipedia that you can also go and read. What is AI, right? But I'm not going to do any of that. I would rather focus on relatable examples and things that we see in our day-to-day or products that we use in our day-to-day life, and give you a little bit of flavor of how LinkedIn uses AI. So at LinkedIn, AI is like oxygen. We power all our products and our member experiences through AI. And when I say that, what does that really mean? So for you as a member, when you come on our platform, if you're looking for a job, all the recommendations that you see, or when you go on feed and you see that your content is all personalized, what do these things tell you? The recommendation system, the personalization, the search for the jobs, all of this is nothing but behind the scenes, it's machine learning models that are running and bringing this rich data to you. This is all AI. Now let's take another example, which is a little bit more relatable. And say, for example, you woke up this morning and you may have taken an Uber or a Lyft to go to work. When came time for lunch, you ended up using Yelp and you wanted to select which is a restaurant that you want to use based on what you felt like eating today. Say when you wanted to come to the event, you ended up using Google Maps to drive. All of these things that are recommendation or searches or time it takes, all of that is nothing but AI. AI really works on 3 things, right? The formula is you need to have a problem statement defined or have an objective. The second is you need to have the right data, which is your training data set. If you have these 2 things, these 2 amazing things together, it's nothing but magic done. So with that, I want to circle back to the first question I asked you guys, which is, let's do a quick show of hands on how many of you think that the products that you used this morning were powered by AI. And some people may have hesitated and not raised the hand because we don't even know what we use is or isn't powered by AI. But I think the point I want to make is not the stats, but the point I'm making is that it's increasingly, it's evident that it's increasing that a lot of products that are touching our lives today, be it a Google Maps or be it food we eat or be it the technology that we use, all of this is really going to be powered by AI if it's not already, right? So that really tells us that AI is life-touching and it is going to be evolving into a lot of these products that not just us but our next generations are going to be using. Now, why is it important? For that, I can give you one example just to keep it short for the duration of the time that I have my talk. For LinkedIn, we've seen the benefits when we've used models that power these AI products. Example, the job recommendation. Seen 30% lift in our job applications when we've, instead of using traditional systems, use machine learning models to power those behind the scenes. Keeping this in mind, I would say the fact that with this, we're not seeing a lot of I'm not going to go into more examples because I think panelists, my fellow panelists will also talk about it and they'll share their industry. And the good part is that I am representing technology, but I think my fellow panelists are also coming from healthcare and finance and what have you, right? So they can all talk about their examples and you would be able to see, why it's so important for us. The next point I want to talk about is great, it's important, but how how are people about democratizing AI? So I can give you one example. What we are doing at LinkedIn, we have an initiative called AI Academy, and what that really focuses on is we have an organization of intelligence, and these are the people who know how to build the products and build the right models. But like I mentioned before, just building the right models cannot get our job done. We need to be able to deploy those models. We need to be able to have the right data done ahead of time. We need to analyze it. We need the right product managers of AI such that they can understand, connect to the users, and translate it into problem statements that can be worked on. So it's not one function that does AI. It is a group of people and different functions that can bring a cohesive product. So that's how we are democratizing. But I think there are many different ways different people are doing. I would leave you with one message that if you're curious, then definitely, like there's so many blogs, you can reach out to people on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm branding for LinkedIn, but it's a good platform. Use it and reach out to. I'm pretty sure, people are wanting to have a coffee with you and share any knowledge that they have in AI and enable you to get there. If that's your destination. That takes me to my next question, which is spoke about, what is AI, how important it is, but say that it's important that we be a part of it. And when I say we, it's not just women, men, women, all of us, we be a part of it. I will roll up one video. Can you help me put up the 30-second video? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Hi camera, I've got a face. Can you see my face? No glasses face? What about my hair? But back to my face. You can see her face. What about my face? Well, I've got a mask. Can you see my mask?
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for watching that video. Really, I think the video has a good explanation just by itself. There's very little I have to talk about it, but the message I'm really trying to share here is that AI models do have bias. And as you can see, the models can only be successful if based on two things, right? If we are able to give it the diverse set of data sets, the data that it learns from. So it's very important that it is pretty diverse in nature. How do we make that happen, right? If there is only one set of people who are building these models or writing code, then that perspective is going to come through. And it's important that everybody be a part of it, right? Men, women, different data sets. It's also testing was only done on a certain set of groups. And that's how the model actually learned from. So it's very, very important that you find like all these things exist, that AI models can be biased, but I think what we can do is use AI reliably, right? We cannot get rid of it, but we can reduce it. So the message from this section I really want to share with you is twofold. One is if you are interested in joining the movement where these products that we'll be using in our day-to-day life, be it in healthcare or finance or in tech, and if you want to be a part of it, now is your time, right? And the second point I want to make is if AI is going to be used, for example, again, if you go on LinkedIn and can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. So I was saying that if you just go up on LinkedIn right now and do a quick search for the number of jobs and try and break it down into different domains, you will see that AI is trending pretty high at this point, and it's only going to increase. So my message back to you is on this, right? Like if job opportunities on that area, and if you have an interest, then I think now is the time that you start reaching out to your connections or even taking courses. There are many free courses. I will also send Melissa some of the free courses that we have on LinkedIn Learning. Our head of LinkedIn AI group has also put out many courses, and I can share those with you that you can take a look at and see if any interest sparkles on those lines. With that, I would like to come to my final section of the talk, which is my personal journey into AI. So traditionally, like anyone else, like I have technical degrees both in bachelor's and master's. I've done computer science. Like any other enthusiastic grad kid, I wanted my first job to be a software engineer, and then I joined a company, did software engineering for a couple of years, realized I am better off staying away from the cube rather than code and doing other things. And so I got into technical program management and leadership roles. I joined LinkedIn about 4.5 years back. My first role, and the reason to join LinkedIn is on data. I really wanted to know how data influences product decisions. And so I joined Science Group. I was on a couple of projects. One of my programs was working on the LinkedIn redesign and of the desktop version. And I ended up meeting the director of the machine learning group and got to talking, and instantly curious that I am, I said, what is machine learning? And I'd love to learn more about it. He said, look, I have many programs and projects in my group, and I would love if you can come join us. I said, that's right up my alley. I can provide my services of somebody allowing me to learn machine learning. And so it was a win-win. I got in. I was the first technical program manager joining that group, and now I have a team, and you actually saw some of the members on my team in the room. And so now we are a growing organization. The team, my team, the program managers, we drive like some of the most complex programs for the AI group. So I would say now that I've shared this story with you, I would like to circle back on the first question I asked about. So my hand did not go. And I'm going to steal this thing that one of our VPs actually mentioned, in the past, in the recent talk, that PhD is not a necessity. Can you guys see me? Okay. I'm just going to wrap up saying that it's not a necessity, and it's not going to make you, that's not the only thing that's going to make you successful. So I encourage you women to at least, if not anything, like don't jump into AI, but at least be aware of what this is, because it's shaping up the product that we're going to use and touch our lives ongoing. I'm happy to take any questions towards the end after the panel is complete. But if I can share one final message, if I have been able at least some awareness, then I would say my talk is successful. And if any of you end up getting a job in AI, please send me a note on LinkedIn. I'd be very happy and rooting for you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Wasn't that a wonderful kickoff to the program? Did everyone enjoy that? Yeah, me too. That was awesome. And we only had a few strong winds or something causing some interference. So I thought it went very, very well. Now I'd like to call up the moderator for tonight's program, introduce Anki Zhao, who is our quantitative analytics data scientist. So if you'll take it from here.
Thank you, Liz. First of all, let's give not just the women, but the men, everybody else in the room, a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Just want to do a time check, so we're a little bit behind schedule. We're still doing 45 minutes? Okay, great. So the panel discussion tonight, again, we're very honored to have our amazing panelists today, and we'll divide it up into three major sections. First we're going to talk about what's AI, what's machine learning, kind of just demystify it for everybody, make it more approachable. And then we're going to talk about more of the application, where the future is for AI and machine learning. And we're going to wrap up the panel discussion with, if AI is the future, where are the women? That's right. And we'll leave time for Q&A. But please, while the panelists are speaking, don't start thinking about your question already. Listen first, and we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. Is that okay? Yes. All right. Just quick self-introduction. My name is Ann Chizo. I am actually between two jobs right now. I was a quantitative analyst, or quant, for 5 years. Worked at Bank of America and Wells Fargo for the last 5 years. And I'm starting a new position with SunTrust Bank next week. I'll be a technical program manager, but developing early talents in the data science space. And my passions are diversity and inclusion, mentoring, and early talent development. And we'll kind of go around the table, and then each of the panelists, please tell us your name, the company, and your role, and what excites you about artificial intelligence and machine learning. We'll start with Tuba.
Hey, my name is Tuba Aktaran Kalaycı. My formal title is Executive Director on Analytics at Cox Communications, but I've been recently calling myself Executive Director of PowerPoint presentations. And that is apparently, so I also whine about I used to be a great data scientist, and then this is where I progressed to be, but that was on my own choosing, so I deserve it, I think. So at Cox Communications, I'm in charge of teams who day-to-day develop capabilities for transformational artificial intelligence and machine learning programs, projects. And within these teams, as I was saying, I have data science and data engineering teams. And my passion, again, I actually want to thank you, Anchi, for your excitement, for your energy. I can feel it with this distance. I was, it's getting close to, it's a Thursday, and then it's getting late. So I was like, it's all going to be down the hill, but it's great. So you recharged me. Thank you very much for that.
Well, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm a professor by training, so I tend to project. I'm sorry. So I am Brandeis Marshall. I am Associate Professor of Computer Science at Spelman College, which is down the road, around the corner, which everyone here in Atlanta knows. That means you're driving a lot of highway to get there. But it's in Southwest Atlanta. And I am very excited to be here. I teach data science. Most often I teach database, so I'm a data engineer by training. And so a lot of my love for data came way back when, before 9/11. I know I do not look that old to know about 9/11, but believe me, I am. And it really comes with understanding the passion and knowing that data was going to run the world. I knew it back in 2000, and now data is cool, and being a data geek is good. And so I am now reveling in everyone that now is just like, oh, I want to know about data. I was like, I could tell you a lot about data. And so I'll I'll just start off with a little tidbit. I was having a conversation with Allison, and she was over here, and she's not over here anymore. Oh, she's over there. Okay, so I was talking a little tidbit from Allison about data versus information. And so I like to share this little tidbit is that between data and information is credibility. So data is just raw content that then needs insights from humans in order to produce the information. So hopefully that's a good kickoff, and I'll hand it over to the next panelist. And I thank you.
Well, so I'm going to be the odd man out here. So I'm not a data scientist. I sell and market technology that has AI and machine learning. So I'm more on the application side, so don't ask about data lakes or any of that stuff. That's all, okay, I can talk about it. But I'm Lisa Kramer. I'm the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for a company called In Reality. And we provide an intelligence platform with IoT sensors. So we'll talk a little bit about how IoT sensors bring in data into our application for retailers and brands. So it's kind of, she had the facial recognition. We do facial detection. So anyhow, we'll talk about that, and that's what excites me. I tend to always, from the time I started at IBM, through my livelihood in sales and marketing, have always been on the leading edge of technology, and just I enjoy it. I happen to be a technical person, but I like the other side of it too. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm not Lisa. I was Lisa Su. I work as a senior data scientist at GE Power. For GE, probably more well known for their appliance, but we don't sell appliance anymore. It's actually owned by a Chinese company now. But for GE Power, we actually build like turbines, power generation technology, and generate like probably a third, 30% of the world powers so far. And as a data scientist there, we partner with like the business units functions like pricing or like commercial operation to help them understand what the data is telling them and like extract information and help them to make some more data-driven decision to help improve the entire process. So I'm actually coming from more like not data-related background from biomedical engineering, but throughout the years, you still have to do data analysis is what gets me to start being interested in data, because it's like, oh, data can tell you so much things, like so many things if you take a look at it and have the right question, keep asking questions. So it's a fun journey so far to me, and I'm excited to see so many people are interested in AI and machine learning. So we're gonna have some great information exchange and idea exchange tonight. So thank you for coming tonight.
All right. Okay. So I know we've been throwing the terms around artificial intelligence, machine learning. Let's make it a little bit more approachable. For each of the panelists, can you give us just at a high level one application, one example that everybody can relate to, maybe in your field or not? And also talk about, Brianka mentioned that as well, AI is not just one function. It's really interdisciplinary. It brings everybody together. It's not like you get a degree in artificial intelligence and you do everything else. So, talk a little bit about what are some of the skills, what are some of the functions that are involved in this process. I'll start with you, Tuba. Sure.
Yes, in case that wasn't, I said sure. So yes, I'm usually an agreeable person, so I'll do that. I usually think about these terms. There is AI, ML, if you heard, there is deep learning, and I am a taxonomy nerd. I like it when I can express things in terms of these matryoshka dolls, the Russian dolls, they are nested, go in each other. So deep learning is the smallest doll, machine learning is the middle doll, and artificial intelligence is the larger doll. And that all becomes a hammer in the hands of a data scientist is how I see these things usually. And the hammer, the importance of that thing is if you know the law of the hammer, that if you have a hammer in your toolbox, you see everything as nails. So usually the line of thinking of a data scientist is they have the hammer and they look for they look for nails to hit with the tool that they have. And within this field, I can share you from my own experience what helped me most. I remember my classmates back when I was doing my grad studies. Back, if you're back. So I remember the paths they took in their careers and what I did. I think what sets me apart, and I'm not saying I'm a success story, I'm just saying I am different than anybody else, because everybody is different than anybody else. But what worked for me is, apart from being a good mathematician, my 4 years, my parents tried to understand what my thesis was about. It was deeply mathematic, stochastic processes, simulation output analysis, so basically mathematical modeling and predictive analytics applications on top of that. So I had the math skills, I had the computational skills and the whole putting together. But what helped me was storytelling and visualizations, basically. So with that, using the two, and from there, applying the mathematical techniques that come with the artificial intelligence machine learning toolbox, that is what I think makes this whole field work together. And if you are especially working in a corporate job, not a research thing, those are the things that I think sets people apart. And obviously, if you love your job, that's it's a big, big differentiator as well. In terms of, I wanted to also touch a little bit about the technology piece for this. You may be hearing about the big data. I wanted to touch on actually just two different trends that I've been seeing in the industry. So 5 years back, everybody was migrating to Hadoop. Now everybody is migrating out of Hadoop or has already migrated into Spark-based things, and there is more distributed computing, whatever might be happening, but everything's in the cloud. We were discussing with my new friend somewhere, that we will have a Diet Coke for AWS soon. It is like everybody is migrating their products to versions of things that work in the cloud as well. So those are the two big things that I've been seeing in terms of technology stack as well.
So, of course, everyone knows I'm the professor on the panel, so I have to explain the terminology only a way a professor can, so I'll try to make this very short. Pardon me. Please go up and get wine if needed. So I consider data science to be an ecosystem, right, of how data moves through an organization, right? And so that's how I kind of see data science. And I know it's been rebranded as machine learning and AI as of late over the past, 2 or 3 years, so much. All right, so under data science happens to be several different other terminologies. So I've used like data engineering, but machine learning and AI are, of course, under that umbrella. And I think Tuba explained it beautifully, but AI is the overarching umbrella, and inside of it is machine learning, right? So AI is all about the rules that you might say, like if, then, causation, things like that. And then underneath there happens to be iterative process, which is the machine learning aspect of it. Then within that is the deep learning component of it, right? Is how can you continually to feed in the system iteratively and have that iterative system then make decisions about itself. So that's those three terms. All right, and then there's this whole notion of like data science in general, to me, which involves algorithms, processes, models, as well as the system itself. And of course, I will always go back to humans, because humans are part of every single part of this process. So as long as you think about data and the humanness that's part of it, so there's a human computer system interaction that has to be in part of this conversation. So as far as application and techniques, I'm very much of the school of Jupyter Notebooks. Cloud-based platforms is where everyone is going. But of course, academia kind of needs to kind of get more on board with that, because a lot of institutions are trying to do their best in order to maintain their own systems. But I think we're at the point where we need a lot more of the cloud providers to just provide some of those things for free to the institutions, because we're trying to educate and the developers, yes, to provide it for free, that this whole paying for clock cycles for academics and for institutions and for developers is silly if you actually want people to actually develop on these platforms and to make sure that it actually is disseminated and more inclusive. I'm off my soapbox. I am now done. Thank you. But I got an amen from the cloud, so it's all wonderful.
That was exhausting. Oh, that was exhausting. No. So being in sales and marketing, we use all the terms just to, throw them around to, make people get buzzworthy terms. But no, 100% agree with the.
I'm glad someone accepted that. I thought about it for years, that they're just telling these things to sound cool.
Exactly.
I'm glad you accepted.
Yes, we do. Fully accept it.
You just own it.
No question, definitely own it. But the descriptions, absolutely, we use the same thing. AI being the umbrella, machine learning, and then machine learning and deep learning underneath. But anyhow, so the interesting thing is, and I want to be contrary a bit on a realistic application here, where with IoT being part of our application, we actually do obviously most of our processing in the cloud, but we also have to do some stuff on the edge, which really makes it a complex system, like exceptionally complex. So for us, and I'm glad you brought visualization. Visualization is a huge issue for us. So our platform is in thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of stores, little sensors, right? And everything's anonymous, so don't get too freaked out. But the volume of data that we have, and some of that processing has to be happening at the edge, And so if you're in these stores remotely all over the world, there's some processing that has to be there and some processing in the cloud, and then back and forth. So the complexity of that type of application, coupled with the machine learning. So we have, machine learning models that have to detect faces. And we'll talk, maybe I'll skip and talk more about that. But so I'll add some complexity to what you guys kind of talked about, it all in the cloud, that there are other real-time applications, particularly with IoT, that deal with things on the edge, which means, obviously servers and things sitting in physical locations. So I'll add that piece. Done. Much quicker than the professor.
Right.
Saying.
So
You do really well. You do.
So I'll add something to where it's like the data science film, because we all talk about cloud, but a lot of time for companies, especially like, for example, like our company is business to business model, so we don't really require cloud, or like we might use it, but to sometimes we don't need that computational power because we only have maybe millions of rows. We're not going over like gigabytes of data. Right. So a lot of time data science is, for me, is more like a problem solving process, and then machine learning is one of your tools that you use to solve your business problem. So what's important for data science is how you cast your business problem to be a data or a machine learning problem. Then that's how you start building your application around it. You have a proper problem statement, and then you talk to people, start your data engineering, data science, discovery process, and at the end you have a solution for that problem. Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
That's good.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, problem
So,
definition is huge.
pop quiz. Okay, so it's been reiterated many times. Russian doll metaphor. What's the smallest doll? Deep learning. What's the next doll? Machine learning. What's the big doll? Give yourself a round of applause. Alrighty, and I was just at a conference earlier today, the Southern Data Science Conference, and one speaker, Dr. Jennifer Priestley from Kennesaw State, she leads the data science program there. And then she said this very, very, very nicely, that data science is statistics plus computer science plus business. It's really, when you bring all these people together, you find somebody who can do statistics better than a computer scientist, and a business person, somebody can tell the story better than your regular statistician in computer science, and somebody who can actually implement it than just with the statistics and the business background. So that's where data scientists or these AI and machine learning really come into play. So let's now move on to section number 2. Where is the future for machine learning and artificial intelligence? I would like to have each of our panelists talk a little bit about the current landscape of the application, especially for those of you who work in the bigger corporation. Where things are right now, what's kind of emerging, what are some of the future predictions that's been still kind of untapped at this moment, and maybe some of your concerns, with some more recent news that's coming up. Okay, we'll start with you.
Cool. So I'm not a futuristic person, so the future piece of it is way beyond me, but I can tell you with my humble opinions about this. So with this one, I would remind you what AI is good for currently. AI is good for solving problems at low cost, solving very big problems, so it's good with scaling problems. It's good with making things available at people's fingertips. Think about what can be deployed on your computers. Think about what you can deploy as artificial intelligence solutions on your mobile devices. And also, artificial intelligence, in some cases, in many cases, can achieve better than average human accuracy on things like classification and yes-no type of questions. And AI is also good at handling complex relationships, thousands, millions of relationships that come into the model as information pieces, and making sense of it to make a final prediction of what's going to happen. So cost, availability, scale, and what else did I say? Accuracy and complex relationships. So from this perspective, AI currently does all these things. And in my company and in other places that I have worked, it exactly does that. So wherever you are spending money, you want to put some layer of AI on top of it to make optimization of your costs. And whatever your business is, if you are handling customers, you want to maximize customer experience, improve customer experience. And most of the work currently we are doing at Cox Communications is exactly that, to improving customer experience, reducing network costs, and reducing transactional operational expenses and that sort of thing. So that's why we are using. So then you say AI, ML, it all sounds cool, but we are just trying to save money.
So I think the future, when it comes to data science, machine learning, and AI is all about, hello? You can hear me? Okay. So I think the future really is about ethics. I think there's going to be it's starting already, which is a coming of this intersection between the law and ethics and data and what that might look like. I think there's going to be new merging departments, as well as technicians, as well as lawyers that might be moving more into the data space to understand the regulations. I think we've all have seen a lot of what's going on with the big tech and the regulation that I think is impending within the next 2 years, 3 years or so. The UK already has done the GDPR, and that is just one level of regulation, and I think that there's going to be more coming afoot. So I think that's really the future. What we're going to be looking at. And then, of course, I think there's going to be a lot more people are going to be needed to be dealing with the database and dealing with the data in the raw form, because a lot of the analysts and AI and machine learning specialists, they're going to be focused on the model and statistics. They won't be necessarily focused on how the data gets into the system. And so I think we need to disaggregate those two roles very distinctly. And I think companies are going to need to start to spend money on paying people to do those two separate roles separately and not trying to put it all as being one person.
So I see it from a different perspective, of course. I see, so from our application and where we're going, and I see personalization and recommendations becoming more specific to you as an individual, all right? And so, for instance, if you're walking through a store, I might not know who you are, but I know your gender, and I know your approximate age, and I might know your buying patterns, so I might be able to put up on a digital screen something that would be of interest for you to buy as you walk through the store. That is of value to you, and so I can see more and more recommendations and personalizations that way. And then on the consuming side of it, from a business perspective, sales and marketing are very advanced as far as AI. And so productivity is huge. And sales and AI and the ability to ramp a sales rep up and to make them significantly more productive by analyzing the best customers. And when the customer says one thing, what should you say as a sales rep in the moment is happening now. And so the ability to sell better, sell smarter, be able to make sales reps more productive, I think is another huge advantage for AI in now and growing in the future. That's a huge field. So.
That's all. Oh, can you guys hear me? Okay. So I think that these are all absolutely correct. Like, especially you try to improve the efficiency and the accuracy in the process. And for example, like we're doing business to business, but still, like, from the past historical data, what can you find? Like, when can you predict a plan is about to fail, and then you have the offering in front of them, say, we know what you need, instead of like, these are all our product, can you pick one? You just pick one already for them, so they will have the time to react to it and buy it right away, and you can outperform your competitors. And another way is with all the technology like deep learning and all the unstructured data coming in, that's how we maintain the data integrity, and also like how we think more creatively, think outside the box to solve the problem. Because I feel like I think there is always something that you can improve in the process, just how you can approach it to think a more creative way or an innovative way to do it. So with all the tools like machine learning and AI in hand, it's like empowering us to do that.
Okay, pop quiz number 2. Anyone want to just kind of shout out what are some of the advantages of artificial intelligence and machine learning? Some lessons learned? Anyone else? Huh? Personalization, sorry. Anyone else? Security? Anyone else? Accessibility? Retail. Men in the room, give a shout out. Come on. There are more. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. Anything else you guys want to talk about on the anything else from the panelists you want to talk about concerns and current application? Alrighty, we'll move on to our last section of the panel discussion today. Why do we need more women? That's right. So I want to hear a little bit more about your personal story. You know, how did you get where you are today? What are some of the, you know, skills or education that not just women, everybody, you know, can acquire in today's, you know, talent landscape? Let's start with that.
I want to share a personal story. I will, we were talking with Lisa on this too. So I have a 10-year-old daughter. She wants to be a data scientist, like mommy. And then, but how she decided is interesting. She likes my shoes. And so I have these high heel shoes and in different colors. I especially like the ones, you should check the ones I'm wearing, they are really good. So this red suede ankle strap shoes, right? So she's fascinated by them. And she thinks that if she grows to be a data scientist, that's what she will get to wear every day when going to work. So that is, I think that's why we need more women in artificial intelligence, machine learning. Because if you see people like you who do things, then that becomes feasible for you. That becomes an achievable thing for you. And then you can go talk to them. She sees what her mommy went through. The types of education she got. She also sees how angry I am when she doesn't follow my instructions. So that all of that comes together for her, and then she sees that being a data scientist with a math heavy education, with a computer science education and all of that, that doesn't scare her because she thinks that her mommy did it. So one thing I don't know if I told her or if she told me, perhaps she did, but she was saying that my mom is smarter than your mom and my dad is smarter than your dad, so I'm going to be smarter than you. So I should also remind you, this is the daughter, when she turned 4, she's going to be something, I hope. But when she turned 4, she told me on her birthday, she told me that she was 4 now, she could do whatever she wanted. Yeah, that didn't quite happen. I think she's more wise now, but we'll see. So again, from my point of view, it was great. It was great to put some of this into perspective for me. I did not see. So I've been in this field, including the grad studies and whatnot, close to 20 years now. I never had a female boss, for example. That was interesting, and I'm thinking my peers, except for a couple here and there, were all men. But then what worked for me was, I think I am openly if this is a word, discriminatable. So if people see me, I'm obviously a woman and I'm openly Muslim. And that said daughter, I have 2 more. So I was pregnant, or I had an infant for about 30% of my career. So I was a mom with sleep issues that I was not entirely sane when I was at work for some part of it. So I was openly discriminatable, and people who would discriminate against me, I think that's what worked for my advantage, didn't hire me to begin with. And for better or for worse, I don't know, I don't think I was smart enough when I was starting out my career, but what I did with the little wisdom I had, was I chose good bosses, and all bosses became mentors for me. And what that happened is they were, and this is a conversation, by the way, if you can do it, if you are that sort of personality, I do this with all my new bosses. I tell them I am open to criticism, I'm open to improving myself, I am fine being uncomfortable. Tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can improve. Not so much in these words, but I try to have this conversation in a more politically correct way that I tell them. And I advise you to do the same thing. And then that would be a good point of view to assess your boss, right? Because bosses are assessing us, and then we should be assessing our bosses too. And if your boss has the tendency, another thing I always share with people is, most people are good, they want to help you, but if I want help, I need to make it easy on the person who can help me, and that person has a day job. So I need to make it easy for that person to help me. I shouldn't be asking, can you write me an essay, 1,000 word essay on the pros and cons of working from home, right? It's not that. So it should be a very straightforward, and if possible, a yes-no answer. And then that could lead to other deeper conversations, but if you make it hard for people to help you, then you will get limited thing, not because people are bad or not because they don't want to, but they just have their day jobs, they have their families. So these are the things that worked for me when I was going through all these 3 pregnancies, 3 infants, and this whole thing, changing jobs. And the whole thing, I think what made it all worthwhile is I ended up in this thing. Again, I'm not saying I was wise in making decisions, but this field is there is a vacuum at top, and it sucks people up. If you can find your niche, if you can find the area that you can excel in this field, there are so many open positions in our group, for example, at Cox Communications right now, that we are trying to find people that we want to put them on a path to proceed in their careers, because now the employers are at a place to invest in their people, to convince them to come work for them. And all of this put together, if you can find your niche, the area that you can shine, there is really the vacuum that pulls you up, I think. So try to find that vacuum and just get under its face, wherever it's gonna pull you up, is what I wanted to share with you. Yay.
I'm supposed to follow that? Okay. So I really believe, I'm at Spelman, and if you're unfamiliar with Spelman, it is a historically black institution, liberal arts women's college. And so I originally was at Purdue University for my assistant professorship before I earned tenure and then moved to Spelman 5 years ago. So I really believe that women are the ones who are the backbone of communities and also of society. And so we impact a number of different generations. And so I think it's just very important for women to be part of the conversation, which means we need to be at the table, which means we don't only lean in, but we stand up, we sit down, we shout, we walk away, we come back in the room. So I think that type of exchange needs to happen. And so the need for women is not just a need for women to be in the field, for us, our own representation, for our own agency. It is for the betterment of our world and of our society. Not that we are pulling on the full burden of the whole society, but that we are half in the world, right? And so we need to make sure that our half is part of every room. And so I was at Southern Data Science Conference earlier today, and I realized that it wasn't half female in the room. It was mostly male. And so I thought that it was important that those conferences have half women. And I think it's very interesting that we're at an event about women in wireless and it's mostly female and we have like 5 men in the room. It should be half men too, because as men, you are part of the allies as well as the champions, as well as the advocates. So I think that it's so important that we as a society start thinking about everybody coming to the table to contribute to the next generation, to the current generation, and to keep moving things forward. So the reason why I'm in this field is because data runs the world, as I said before. And so my personal data is something that I want to understand better. So if you want, so as far as tools or techniques or any type of resources, the Data Literacy Project is one which can have you understand your own personal data agency and understanding your own assessment. So first, understanding your own, what you do and how your data is used is important. And also I want to know how companies are using my data, right? Because I am very much a unicorn. I am a Black woman in computer science with a PhD in computer science. I'm one of about 100 women in the country that have that particular distinction, right? Black women, PhD in computer science. So anytime I give my personal data, I could be easily identifiable. So that's something is very important for me. So when it comes to client management and understand what clients want, understand that there are clients that are unicorns. And so as every company looks at trying to help clients understand what they might want or what they might need and doing recommendations or personalizations, understand for me as someone in this field, I might feel a certain sort of way about being identified because I am unique, right? And that doesn't happen for just me, but it happens for, I'm sure, for most of the people in this room in different capacities. And so we need more women to have this voice and to have this type of conversation to say, what are the algorithms doing? How are the algorithms models being used? And then is this something that actually is viable, extendable, generalizable moving forward? But women need to be part of the conversation, not because it's just because women need to be there, but just because it is going to help the whole entire world move forward and be better. And all we're trying to do is do good work and be better people. That's what we're here on Earth to do.
Yeah, really. I don't want to be next to the professor anymore. This is a bummer.
Try to think about me. I'm always the last.
I know, right? Unfair advantage, I'm just saying. So my career path has been different than everyone's here, right? So the one thing is, I don't know how many people are data science related or data scientists or data engineers or anything like that, but obviously I'm more, I enjoy technology and always have. From I started at IBM, and so we're selling big machines and very technical stuff, much more technical than a lot of what we're talking about in some ways, right, back then. But I also had the other side where I really enjoyed the other components of it, the marketing and the sales and solving business problems. That's what I like to solve business problems using technology. That's been my MO even from the time of college. So for those that do, and that took me through the path of working for software companies primarily through my life. And well, I think some of us were talking earlier, I never had a female boss. I hardly ever see females in software, actually, still, to this day. So it's, and as bold as I think we say we want to be, Sheryl Sandberg's book on Lean In, it's very hard. We're very different, and there are guys that are very aggressive and it's very difficult to kind of sit back and try to take the emotion out of it and be, different than what yourself, as a female. So I'm a big supporter of women in technology in general, and have found actually that people are fantastically helpful in networking. So I'm a big networker. I love networking with people. Atlanta is fantastic as a networking city, actually. Having coffee with people, getting introductions to things, learning about other events or other technologies. To me, that has always been my MO, and I found people are fantastic with that. And so from a career path perspective, a lot of times I'll tend to jump into the latest technology just because I really like it. It's not always the smartest move, I have to say, right? Because I've co-founded a couple of my own companies, and which have been amazing experiences, fantastic experiences. But sometimes you jump in, you go, oh my gosh, this is like really hard. This is like, wow, this is bleeding edge. But so I have to sometimes get some help from other folks. Like, okay, this looks really exciting. Is this great? No, that's like goofy, crazy. But it's really fascinating, and I'm also very involved in like the VC community and PE firms and where they're putting their money. So that again, technology and AI and machine learning, there's a ton of money going into that space, especially when I was talking about the sales and AI. There's just so much growth happening in both MarTech and sales technology. And the space that we're in right now from a retail technology perspective. The growth in providing this kind of data to retailers, they're dying for this. They're literally dying right now, closing stores, but they need this. And the transformation that's happening in that industry is stunning. So it's incredibly exciting. I mean, I'm very passionate about it, as you can probably tell, and I just love living it. So anyhow, that's from my journey and my ideas, thoughts. Non-academic thoughts.
All right.
Non-professor-like thoughts.
My sharing will be much like shorter, I believe, because I'm still relatively new at starting my career. I'm only like 2 or 3 years after I graduated grad school. So far, I think it's been great so far as women in technology, but it will be definitely much better to have women on board as women in tech, because a lot of time, like when you're starting a project or like in a group, I'm the only woman in the group. Like I'm talking to a lot of dudes, and like they all coming from like they're like they have their own perspective, right? So it's the distance like between women and men. It's like there is some distance. It's really great to have like some kind of supporting group, and I also want to encourage like women in tech should help other women to start joining tech. And there are so many resources. You can start like a mentor mentee, or just get a coffee, talk about your experience, how you started in your career, and share throughout the experience sharing. It's going to be much helpful, and you just need to like be more proactively asking for people's help or people's experience, to learn from their experience, help, and to help you get into the field. And when you start doing it, you know how to navigate through that maze, I think. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for sharing. And just my own 2 cents, originally, actually, I was invited as a panelist, and the original panelist, Amelia, couldn't attend to drop out last minute, so I stepped in as a moderator. But when I first got an invitation, I was like, and I look at the panelist profile, I was like, there must be a mistake. Why am I being invited as a panelist, sitting amongst these very accomplished leaders in the field? And Sabina said, if you have a good story to share, there are people who are willing to listen, right? And that's exactly why Lisa and I are here. I've been working for 5 years. This is going to be my 3rd company. I've switched my career projection a little bit. My background is in computer science and business. Somehow ended up in banking. Did the quantitative risk management thing for 5 years. But something I've always been passionate about is working with students and mentoring others. And also data science. Lisa and I both sit on the Leadership Council for Data Science Connect, which is another organization locally. If you care about these causes, invest your your best asset, which is your time, to this organization. I wouldn't be getting my next job without investing at least 10, 20 hours a week unpaid, doing these things I'm passionate about. So that's first one, volunteering. If you care about something, spend your time. Let's give a round of applause to these women who are with the Women in Wireless, because, these are all volunteers, right? You guys are not getting paid doing this. Yeah. My second point is, do we have any students in the room? Any students? We're talking. Okay. Okay, I understand it's 21 and above, but again, we're talking about the next generation. We're talking about younger folks, right? I wanted to, next time, I hope all of you will join the membership, but also next time when you come, bring somebody who's up and coming, someone who looks nothing like you, right? And then that's how we grow as a diverse and inclusive group. That's my 2 cents gonna throw it out there. Before we move on to the Q&A, I see some people are getting a little bit sleepy. Let's stand up and just stretch real quick. Do a 5-second stretch. Raise your arm.
Say women in wireless.
Alrighty. Right. Thoughts on guys, privacy, use of data publicly?
Yeah.
Yes, you need to be concerned because you don't necessarily know where your data is being used and what's being stored. So the most important thing that I would say for you to do is first on your phone, if you have an iPhone, turn off location services. So that's at least one less way people can track you. And the other thing is when joining a new network, a wireless network, that you might want to consider not joining it unless you know that it's been secured. So an HTTPS, it will actually help with keeping your information secured on your particular phone. But we can talk offline since I know we're out of time.
Yeah, it's entirely a valid concern. So GDPR in European Union, and now there is CCPA that's getting figured out in California. And as far as I know, there are other 5 so-called progressive states that are pushing these bills in their senates and whatnot. So the thing is, I find this as an interesting challenge. So if you do not control AI, so you can control AI, either think about AI as a weapon. It's not, but you can use it as a weapon. Think about it as a weapon. And then the way you stop this weapon, either with governance or with technology, right? So if you put more governance around it, you can protect people from the weapon of AI. But if you do that, you are also slowing the possibility of other countries developing AI, so you cannot stop them technically. Does that make sense? So if you stop AI from a governance perspective, then other places in the world, if there are no governances restricting AI's development, then we will be at a point where we cannot stop them technically, even if we have the correct governance.
And what we found is that it's all about the value that someone's receiving. So people are incredibly willing to give up information if they perceive that the value they're getting is well worth it. And so that's happening more and more in general. And they're also, like, we're fully anonymized. I can tell that you're a woman of a certain age because you can, we have the machine. The models are so good that it learns over time, and we're just taking 19 points of your face. So so there's that level, and it's there. There is facial detection is what we do. Facial recognition. Actually, you walk into a room, they'll take a picture, they send it to a database, and they'll say, Lisa Kramer is here, and they within seconds tell you exactly that person, and then all the data. So, and also we have to forget, online, it's been happening. Your data's out there, like, right, in a big way already. Yeah, well, you're one of the few. Yes, yeah.
I wanted to point out that we have our keynote from LinkedIn back with us now, as well as Sabina. So welcome back, ladies. If you
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes. Okay, awesome. I was going to chime in on the first question anyway. So at LinkedIn, we take our member data extremely seriously. Privacy and safety of our member data is key for us, right? And we do a lot behind the scenes. Of course, I think one of the panelists already mentioned about GDPR, and so LinkedIn we also have to govern by those rules, and we are doing that. And to answer your question on if there is a data that is a specific set of data that we are collecting from you, you are well aware of it. You are doing that voluntarily. And I think now we have a mechanism by which our members can know, like, what is being tracked versus what's not being tracked. So it's pretty transparent. But we can tell you that companies like LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is not one of them, but I think member data is key for us, and we do a lot around it. A lot of initiatives are just focused on how do we keep that data secure, such that you feel very confident that when you come to our platform, your data is secured and used.
Repeat it real quickly. So specific question for Lisa Kramer on technical sales professionals, how you position yourself in the artificial intelligence market.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's one of those, and AI still has that kind of unknown about it, that are untrustworthy kind of thing almost, right, about it, especially what we're doing. Like I'd say, I'll take a look at both what we're doing from a retail perspective. That I'd say the last 6 months has changed dramatically. The thirst and need for the data it provides and the insights that they can correlate and make decisions with is enormous. And I would say the same for sales, MarTech, marketing technology, as well as sales and AI. The need for what artificial intelligence can provide from the straight data is essential for companies. So, so that's why I love doing it, selling the AI stuff. And I would say that literally in the retail world changed in 6 months. I'd say sales and marketing was probably further ahead because the volume of data that marketers deal with is incredible. And sales AI is taking off. So it's really, and I think that you have to understand it. So it's great that you have that side, that really technical side of you, that you can understand it. And I think the interesting thing is you have to sell it often to people that it's, again, they're scared to death. What is it? You're scaring me, and we throw buzzwords around. So you have to bridge that gap and be, technically competent, but be able to talk in layman's and business terms. And it's all about the problems it solves. The application, and the applications are enormous and fantastic. And it will continue. The recommendations and personalization and the ability to make better decisions as a business are enormous. So I think that the opportunity is fantastic for where you are. Yeah.
Let's give another round. I think that's the end of the Q&A session. And let's give another round of applause to our panelists before I pass it back to you.
Okay, ladies, sorry to keep you late. We normally are very, very prompt. We wanted to get the most out of our most incredible speakers tonight, our panelists. They were fantastic. So much to take home and think about. And one more round of applause for all of them. I want to thank our sponsors. Again, I'm not going to put the PPT up there because I'd rather have our guest on the screen. I want to thank our newest sponsor, COTS Communications, and of course LinkedIn. We value you so much. And as a good friend of mine now said, it's not just about the networking, it's the friendships you make that last a lifetime. So I hope that you walk away with that same feeling. And before you leave tonight, we have a meeting next month coming up, and I don't have the PowerPoint in front of me. So, Melissa?
Thursday of every month, we're here. Next month is May 8th.
Right, and Diane Esther is responsible for that event. She's been working on it. Unfortunately, she's not here today to introduce the topic to you. But please check our website. You'll see, if you friend me, you'll see our post on LinkedIn, and you'll know everything. Good night. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.